I guess we'll start. I got 2 o'clock on my computer right here. All the Delhi folks, I'm sure you know Amanda. She is in our library, and she's going to be discussing using library content in your Moodle classes. So, Amanda, please go. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here today. As the snow is picking up speed, I'm sure you're glad to be online. So, as John said, I am in the library here. I am the online librarian, which means that I support any library needs for online courses, whether that's fully online, like in the BSN program, or even, hybrid courses that are taught physically on campus but might be doing some content with Moodle. So what I'm going to show you today is a particular tool that we have implemented in Moodle that allows you to create reading lists of library content. So articles from our databases, ebooks, things that the library subscribes to. You can create a reading list of this content in Moodle for your students to use in your courses. So it's really nice to have a moderator. I've got all in my notes. I'm used to having to run the show myself. So for starters, I'll just cover some terminology here. The name of the tool, what we call it on our campus, is Milo Course Readings. It's an EBSCO product, if you've ever heard of EBSCO databases. EBSCO's original name for the tool is Curriculum Builder. So I know we had on the list a couple of participants from other SUNYs. So you may or may not have access to this at your library. I'm not totally sure. This EBSCO product is something that we purchased as part of our collective SUNY library arrangement. So a lot of SUNY libraries do have this, but they're in various stages of implementing it. So just keep in mind if you want to go back to your campus and ask, it is called Curriculum Builder in other places. Or they may have their own name for it too, like we do here. So as I said, the name of the tool is Milo Course Readings, and I don't have any slides or anything today, so I'm going to just share my screen so that I can demo with you for most of this session here. Okay, so you should be seeing the library homepage, yes? Somebody give me a thumbs up?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, great. Just checking. Okay, so I just want to start by talking briefly. We call the tool Milo Course Readings on our campus, and that's because the content is coming out of what we call Milo. Again, this is our local name for it. It's an EBSCO product. It's originally called EBSCO Discovery Service. It's Milo. Milo doesn't stand for anything, even though it looks like an acronym. It's MI for Mildred and LO for Lewis. Mildred and Lewis Resnick Library. It's one of the vendor's recommendations that you give it a local name that it catches on a lot faster. And we have had that experience with students. They readily will identify, oh, I'm searching in Milo, whereas I don't know that they would if we called it EBSCO Discovery Service or EDS. But so Milo and Discovery Services in general are search tools that are designed to pull together all of the content that a library subscribes to, or as close to all of it as possible. So when you search in this search box that's right here on the library's homepage, you're not only searching our EBSCO databases, but most of our other databases from other vendors, ebooks, print books from our physical collection, and a couple of other things as well. So let's just take a quick look just so you get a sense of what kind of content comes from Milo, because this is the content that you're going to use in Moodle, and I'm going to show you in just a minute. So you see if I do a simple search for obesity, we have this first hit is an encyclopedia article. The next couple have call numbers, so that means that there are things in our physical print collection. We've got some video here, and then we've got some journal articles. There are, according to my limiters over here on the left, there are a lot of results in here from ebooks. They don't show up on the top screen, but just so you get a sense, all the content is all in one place. So now, normally, when you want to add some library content into Moodle, the previous procedure would be that you would have to either download a PDF, download it to your computer, upload it back into Moodle, or find a link that's going to be a persistent link for the students to link out to that content. And that can be problematic for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about that in more detail a little later. So I'm going to hop over to Benko Hall. so that we can take a look at what this reading list tool looks like in action. This is my sandbox course in Benko Hall where I just play around and test things out. I'm going to go through a little run through of how you would add a reading list, and I do have step-by-step instructions. I have a document already prepared that tells you how to do this if you want to give it a try later. I'll share that with the MoodlePalooza organizers so that they can push that out to all of you, so you will have that to refer to. So you don't need to, furiously take notes on all the steps that I'm taking here. So as with anything in Moodle, we're going to turn editing on first. Okay, and then we're going to add an activity. And this is the external tool type because it's an external thing. It's this green puzzle piece we're going to select. My Zoom controls are always in the way of what I'm trying to do. Okay, so you need to give it a name. You can name it whatever makes sense for your reading list. So whether it's readings on a particular topic, or you can even, we're going to call it week 4 readings. Okay, and under external tool type, you have this drop-down menu. One of your choices is Milo course readings. That's what we're using here. So we're going to select that. And that's it. You don't need to click on anything else. Save and return to your course. So here's my week 4 readings. I've set this up. And so you can, what happens is when you click on this to add content to the reading list, it opens right here. Actually, you can also have it, you can, there is one step that I missed. You can go back, you can have it open in a new window, which is sometimes a little bit easier to deal with. I'm going to jump back here. I'm going to show you week 3 readings instead, which is set up to open in a new window. Just for the purposes of this presentation, in a new window, it's a little easier to see. So you're presented with this search box. So again, we don't have to go out to Milo like I just showed you. It's all integrated into Moodle. You're essentially still in Moodle here. So you're going to search for resources on a particular topic. If you have articles that you're already using in a course, you could just copy and paste the title into this search box to bring them up and add them to a reading list in this tool. But I don't have any particular articles that I'm existing ones that I'm going to try to use. So let's say I'm teaching a literature course and I'm just looking for some background to give my students about Toni Morrison. So I'm going to type in Toni Morrison. She's already here because I did this on Thursday. Okay, so you have search results just like you see in the database here. By default, you notice that there were, when I showed you the regular Milo search that our students use to find resources, there are hits from our print collection. This has eliminated those because obviously print resources maybe not the best thing you want to put on an online reading list for an online course. So those by default have been removed. It has also by default removed anything that we don't immediately have access to in our library. So you're not going to run into anything here that's going to take your students to a dead end. All of these, 148,000 results are things that we have in the library. You could get your hands on them right away. So to add them to the reading list, there's just a button for each item, add to reading list. When you click it, it changes to remove from reading list if you change your mind. I've got a couple of things in this reading list already, you'll see. So we can add a couple of things here. I just removed that, that was already there. And as with the database, you have your limiters on the left here. You can narrow it down if you want to narrow down the publication dates for the articles that you're looking at or the resources that you're looking at, or language or anything like that. So how do we check out what this reading list looks like? Where are the things that you've added to it? Up here in the top left corner, we have See Current Reading List. Let's take a look at this. So here you have all of the items we've added to the list, one by one. And they have added a couple of features just recently that are pretty cool. So you see there's these little tiny numbers here, the sort order. You can change the order of the resources. You used to have to manually put the numbers in the boxes to get them in the order that you want, but they recently made an update where you can just drag and drop. So you can just drag them to rearrange them so that they're presented in whatever order you want the students to see them. For each item in the reading list, you have the opportunity to add a note. So if there was something that you wanted students to pay particular attention to in an article, you could put that in a note. Or if you had added an ebook as a resource, but you only wanted them to look at, one or a couple of chapters, you could add the note that says, read chapters, 3, 5, and 7, and have that show up in the reading list. A couple of other features here, we can add a web resource. So if you have just a regular website that you'd like to include with your list of articles and ebooks and whatever, you can do that. I already have one in this list. So this is Toni Morrison's biography from the Nobel Prize website. And so again, that's a link. It just takes you right out. And again, you could add a note if you wanted to say, pay attention to this, or look for some particular thing on the website. And if you find that you clicked on something by accident, or maybe it's a new semester and you don't want to use that reading anymore, it's very easy. There's a delete button over here, removes it from your reading list. You can also add general text or instructions that could show up. You could create subheadings. You can add as many of these instructions as you want in the list. So if you had general instructions like read any 3 of these articles from the list, you could do that here, or you could create subheadings in the list. A lot of flexibility in terms of that. There are some really powerful features up here. So for one thing, you see by default it says that this list is private. Now what's the advantage to having it be public or private? So when the list is private, you can see it. Your students can still see it. The students in the course where you've created this can see it. Public or private refers to whether other instructors at your institution, so in this case other instructors at Delhi, can see your reading list. So this could be a really great way to share resources with your colleagues if you had maybe a course that you were teaching that was similar or that might have some common readings. You could make the list public, just toggle it, click it to toggle, and then I'll show you the way that you can share. There's this import feature. Click on this. You can copy from other lists that you have created, or you can copy from other lists that anybody who's created one that's public, you can copy from those lists. So this is another one of my lists, just because nobody's really using the tool yet. But this is another list that I created that we've made public. So I can say view this public list, and you don't even have to copy the whole thing. You can look over my Civil War medicine reading list, and you can check, say maybe I only want these 3 articles. You can make a copy, and then you have your own version of this list. You've copied those 3 over. You can add some more of your choosing, and it doesn't change anything about the original person's list. So I know on Thursday when I presented this, some of the nursing faculty were talking about they have multiple instructors teaching different sections of the same course. This might be a good way to share readings. If you have a master list for the course, then each instructor could make a copy from this, and that might be a really helpful thing. Are there any questions right now just about the mechanics of this?
Question, Amanda. Oh. You said that when you refer to having multiple instructors for the same course, the reading list is set up in design. Should it just flow over to all the sections?
I'm honestly not sure, because I haven't tried it in a design course. I don't have access to any design courses, but that would certainly be something to try.
Yeah, I wonder if John has any thoughts on that, because he does our rolling over.
Yeah.
I actually think it would come over, because it's in Moodle. It's part of the the kernel, as they say. So I think it would. We can test though. I can
Yeah,
test.
we definitely need to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'll let you think about it. And as I said, there is documentation that I will share with all of you that takes you through all of these steps and reminds you about, the differences between public and private and how to copy a list or share a list or whatever. So I want to talk a little bit about why this is useful. I hinted earlier about the fact that in the current procedure with downloading a PDF and uploading a PDF, there can be some issues with that. And there can also sometimes be some issues with linking to resources as well. I can tell you from experience, the library gets questions every semester from students who say, they'll send us the citation and say, I'm supposed to find this article, but the link my professor provided doesn't work anymore, or I can't figure out how to get to this article for whatever reason. And obviously we don't mind answering those questions, but to, eliminate that point of frustration for the students, this is going to be a lot more robust than linking can sometimes be. The other issue is that this tool helps you avoid possible copyright violations. So when you download an article from one of our databases and put it in Vanco Hall, from the perspective of our database license, the database vendor is okay with that because you've put it behind Vanco Hall and it's password protected, so we know that only our students are getting to it. However, from a copyright perspective, just because you're using it in an educational setting doesn't necessarily mean that it meets all the criteria for fair use, especially because a student could then download that file and make copies of it. It gets a little bit gray. Not every situation is a violation. It's on a case-by-case basis, but because this tool is linking them to the database and not, it's linking them to the database in a more robust way. We avoid any question about possible copyright violations with putting library materials in Vanco Hall for students to use. And then the other really major thing that's a good reason to use this is that, the library has already paid for all of this content. We have a wealth of resources, and this could be a really good way to drive more students toward using these things, and also, to help students to save money, rather than, having them buy an expensive textbook. If you can put together a list of readings that the library has already paid for, that's a tremendous advantage for everybody involved. And one other thing that somebody brought up in the last time I presented this that I hadn't even thought of, if you were to download a PDF and put it in your course, every student that looks at that PDF, the library doesn't have any sense in the usage statistics that we get from the database. It doesn't get recorded when the students are reading that PDF because it only counts that you downloaded it the one time, and then every time the students are reading it, it's all happening in Moodle. So we don't have any sense of that. But if they're using it this way, we have a better sense of how much these resources are being used. So it's a win-win-win, really. Any other questions, thoughts about using this? All right, I have a question for some of you. I asked the group on Thursday. I know I have my suspicions about challenges that using this tool might present for you. Why do you think, are there any concerns that you have about making a shift to putting your readings in a reading list like this?
I just have a question about, when you went to the readings and then they still have to click on, can you just...
Oh, I forgot thank you so much. I forgot the most important part is what it looks like from the student perspective.
Oh, okay.
So let me switch my role here. So here are my week 3 readings. Okay, so when the when they do see these 3 choices of links, I'm working on cleaning that up right now with EBSCO, because they all ideally should have like this full text, this PDF, just one choice so that it's not confusing. But there are, you see from the student perspective, there are many fewer controls, so it's just a clean list, and they click on whatever says full text basically, and it takes them right through, right to the reading. So
Okay.
yeah, it should just be one click. I know it looks a little sloppy right now. That's some recent changes that they made that I'm working on getting cleaned up.
Okay. It's just the common comment that I get from students is that it's very difficult for them to find articles. And, you know, like what you're saying, cleaning it up, I just want to eliminate anything.
Any possible confusion. Yes. Me too.
Anything. Yeah. I mean, it's just, so, I mean, I had a hard time finding articles even when I put the title into Milo. I had to go back into the journal, Nursing Made Incredibly Easy, and search through that through Ovid. So,
okay. Yeah, it should. I mean, generally when you put the title into Milo, it should cooperate.
It was only like 2 articles that I had trouble with.
Okay.
It wasn't all of them. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And again, whenever you run into trouble like that, you know, you can always talk to me or to any of the librarians to get that sorted out.
Yeah. So I have a question for John then regarding this. Is this something that you would rather see us do in terms of just, I don't know, is there fewer glitches then this way if we put a reading list in like this?
I don't think it really makes a difference, to be honest with you, Jill. I think if you put a reading list on, it's just in like a document. That I don't think it makes a difference. I guess it's more convenient for you.
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm definitely.
I like it too. I wasn't really that aware of it, and I'm going to now go into my classes when this is over and start plugging it in.
I'm going to start doing it in the design for the next session. Yeah,
I agree.
This is great.
The other thing that we talked about in the Thursday session, as you see, I've added multiples of these here now. You can create as many reading lists as you want, so you could organize them any way you wanted. If you wanted one reading list for each topic, or even, you know, I had one instructor who would use it for just, you know, create a reading list that's not a list, that has only one resource in it, just one at a time articles, or even to create just one list and use that text feature to break out the headings and say, these are the week 1 readings and so on. If, you know, because in his case it was a hybrid course, and so he doesn't have a big structure in Moodle where with different weeks or anything. So in his case, one list would work better. It's pretty flexible. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? All right, well, if there isn't anything else, we've raced through this, so you're going to have some extra time. I'll put my contact information up here on the screen. Please do get in touch with me if you want to give this a try, if you have any questions, or even I know that the time is another factor for faculty of converting this over and creating these lists. And so the librarians have been thinking about what we can do to make this a little faster for you. And because there's that feature with importing lists and copying lists, we may even be able to, you know, like we could find all the resources for you. If you had a list of things you wanted to move over, we could find the resources for you, and then you could just copy it into your course. So lots of different ways where we'd be thrilled to work with you on this, so please do get in touch with me. And again, I will send out those instructions for all of you after the session.
I just have one question, quick question. When you said that you can then see if the students are reading the articles, so kind of keeping track of that, do you see individually which students are doing it, or just as a whole, it's an aggregate number that you see that, you know?
Yes, no, I believe, I have not played around with this a lot, again, because I don't have live students doing it, and it's pretty much just me looking at this, but I believe in the, moving my Zoom window around here. Where is it? In the analytics in Moodle, yeah. I'm in the student view right now, so I can't.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It should show you individual users, because I know the one time that I did look at it, it shows all me. Amanda Calabrese read whatever week 3 readings. Amanda Calabrese viewed week 4 readings or whatever. So it does show individual users.
Okay, great. This is awesome.
Good.
So Amanda, is anyone using this right now?
No one is using it yet. We just implemented it last spring, and I know that it is a time commitment to get this going, but if anybody is interested in getting this up and running, please talk to me.
I will be talking to you, Amanda.
Yeah, so will I.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing this.
Several of your colleagues are very interested as well. So
yeah,
Me too.
Yep. I just have a section. I have 1 week where I have 5 quizzes, and I put all 5 quizzes in as PDFs, and I'm going to have 5 different quizzes for next session. So when I do that, I want to make sure at least that week those readings are in a, if nothing else, that I get those weeks in, because now I'm worried about compliance and everything else and copyright. I mean, they're all from the library, but still.
Yeah. As I said, it can get pretty gray. So.
Right.
So Jill, are you thinking about using the reading list for each week?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and using existing resources and just putting them into a reading list?
Yes, and I actually will ask Amanda's help to find some articles, because that's been a struggle for the students, and I don't want them struggling at this stage. I mean, they need to find articles, but I'm also going to ask that as well. I'm going to add in more, but I'm going to start, if nothing else, because it's such a short break between the 2 sessions, at least putting the week 6, all my quiz articles.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Really appreciate it.
This was very
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for
Thank you, Amanda. This was great.
I'll leave the contact information back up here. But yeah, this is where to find me if you want to talk more about this.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amanda.